Holy shit, I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy in theaters. And now I'm here to review it. Technically, I saw it, well, right now it's 2:46 a.m. on the 9th. I saw it on the 8th at like 4:40 or 4:45 or something like that. So it's been several hours since I've seen it, but still, I'm here to review it. Now, remember earlier this year I saw Captain America: The Winter Soldier in theaters, and I reviewed it, and I love the movie. Up till this movie, it was definitely, without a doubt, my favorite movie of the year, and Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America: The Winter Soldier are the two big Marvel movies this year, okay? Because they're the two that are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Alright, because yes, for those of you who aren't aware, the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be in the Avengers: Age of Ultron. Okay. So, yes, now, after watching this movie, like, a lot of people were telling me that its quality rivals that of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I could not fucking believe that at all. Seriously, I didn't believe it when I heard it. Going in and watching the movie, I think I may be watching it again in like a week or two or so. I gotta tell you, I agree with them. Now, I don't know right off the bat if it's actually going to be my favorite movie of the year. Well, first off, there's a lot of the year left, but also, I don't really know if I can't really say right now. I'll have to think about it a little bit more if I think it's better than Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Okay, but it's definitely close. These two are side by side with me. This was an amazing fucking movie. Okay, it was directed by James Gunn and produced by Kevin Feige. The screenplay by James Gunn and Nicole Perlman. And it is starring Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer, Vin Diesel as the voice of Groot, and Bradley Cooper as the voice of Rocket Raccoon, Lee Pace as Ronan the Accuser, Michael Rooker as Yondu Yatenda, Karen Gillian as Nebula, Djimon Hounsou as Korath, Benicio del Toro as Tanelier Tivan, aka the Collector, which I don't know if he's ever actually called the Collector in this movie. I don't know much about the Collector, so I didn't realize that watching it actually. Like, he was actually the Collector. I was looking for the Collector, but I don't think he was ever referred to as the Collector. That's why I was really confused. And there's others as well, but those are the main ones. So what's this movie about? Well, it's very simple, by the way. Yes, spoilers as always. If you don't want to be spoiled of this movie, go away now, because I'm just going to be talking the shit up of this movie, because it was amazing. Now, I'm going to talk about everything I remember. So now, Guardians of the Galaxy is basically about, well, our main character is Peter Quill, who goes by Star-Lord. And the movie actually starts with him as a kid. I'm assuming like the 70s or 80s, actually probably the 80s, when his mother actually died from, I'm assuming cancer, because she looks like shit, and like in terms of medical, and she has no hair, so I'm assuming it was cancer. And so he's going to be raised by his grandfather, because his father, they don't know where he's at. He like left and never came back, but his mother had faith that his father would eventually come back. But until then, he was going to be raised by his grandfather. He ran out of the building, or out of the hospital, crying, and then got abducted by a spaceship. I'm not kidding. That's actually how the movie started. Not the strongest start. I felt that's one of the issues I had with the movie. I felt that was kind of a forced way to get him into space. I mean, they couldn't just make him like already in space. I assume there's probably a reason for this, because it did explain that although his mother was human, his father actually wasn't. But I'm assuming they figured this out by testing his DNA or something, because they actually have no idea what his father is. It's something basically that they've never seen before. All right, but and because I assume there was a reason that he's an Earthling, but still, I did feel it was kind of a forced way to get him into space. Like, and the guy who oh god, I forget what his name is, but the guy who kidnapped him and his men, he was basically, or the guy is a blue skin guy. He was basically voiced by Rob Zombie, I think. In fact, I'm gonna check here real quick if it mentions it. Yeah, I can't see it. Well, I'm pretty sure it was Rob Zombie though that voices him. He has a talks kind of weird, but it never explained at all why he was kidnapped. Like after he was kidnapped, he kind of was trained by these guys to basically become a mercenary essentially for them, but then eventually betrayed them, or at least they thought he betrayed them, but it never explained why. It's like they just abduct a random human child to train. That was never fucking explained. So that was another kind of issue that I had with the movie. And it was only a couple hours long, so I think they could have expanded it a little bit more to explain this stuff a little bit better. But anyways, though, so Peter Quill ends up, after he gets abducted, it cuts to like 26 years later, I think, and he's basically an adult, and he's a mercenary. He's wanted. He goes by Star-Lord, although everyone he mentions it to doesn't really seem to know who the fuck he even is. Okay. So, yeah, and he ends up meeting the other members of the Guardians, who we know as Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's Gamora, who is like this green-haired or green-skinned alien, who's actually the adopted daughter of Thanos, who was this kind of the centerpiece of the movie. Although the Guardians never actually encountered him, I'm assuming that he's going to be the final, absolutely final villain of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm assuming that anyways, due to the fact that I'm pretty sure he's the most powerful villain that in the Marvelverse, period. Considering that when he obtains all the Infinity Stones, and puts them in his Infinity Gauntlet, he obtains complete control over the entire universe. But that's beside the point. There's also Drax the Destroyer, who's like this navy blue skin, muscle bound guy, alien, who's called the Destroyer because he's personally slaughtered over like 1,000 of Ronin's henchmen or something. Then there's Groot, who's like this humanoid tree, but he can only say 3 words, and that is "I am Groot." Except towards the very end when he says "We are Groot," but that's really it. He was actually my favorite character, by the way, which is really odd. And then, of course, there's Rocket Raccoon, who used to be a raccoon, although he doesn't know what a raccoon even is, even though he is one. But he used to be a regular raccoon, but he was experimented on and tortured so much. Obviously he was tortured, but he was experimented on so much genetically that he actually became an anthropomorphic raccoon. I love his personality. He is so fucking cynical and just wisecracking and funny, and I just love it. And those are basically the Guardians of the Galaxy, all 5 of them. All 5 of them, which I'm assuming we'll see all 5 of them in the second Avengers movie, which is going to be awesome. Okay. Then, of course, we had the main villain, Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pace. Sorry you heard that beeping there. That was Facebook. But, anyways, though. He played by Lee Pace, and he was such a great villain. He can't really tell who he is because he's covered from head to toe in fucking makeup and robes and whatnot, but he is so over the top, so crazy, and Lee Pace plays off that role so fucking well. A great villain. Okay, I don't know much about Ronan myself from the Marvel Universe, but he played off the role very well. No, another thing I thought was kind of weird was Del Toro playing the Collector. Not the cast, I'm just saying who it was, but I thought it was kind of weird that the Collector didn't really have nearly as big of a role in the movie as I thought he would. Now, I already said before that I don't think he was even ever called the Collector in the movie, which is why I didn't know that he was going to, that he was actually the Collector. I was looking for the Collector and I couldn't find him because he wasn't fucking named, and I didn't know who the Collector. I didn't know what the Collector's real name was either before going into the movie. It's Tan Elir Tivon, Tan Elir Tivon, or something like that. Okay, but I expected him to have a big role in the movie because, from what I understand in the comics, the Collector was like the guy who collected the Infinity Stones, hence his name, for Thanos directly. Okay. Now, but he didn't really seem to like that was his purpose. And of course, one of his women henchmen betrayed him and ended up destroying his place basically, and almost destroying the Infinity Stone, but or gem or whatever. But it ended up being spared, I guess, and almost killing everyone there. She ended up dying herself. But I expected him to have a bigger role in the movie. It's not really a complaint that he didn't, just something that I did, just something I expected but didn't actually happen. All right. Um. Yeah. What else? Well, that's pretty much the main like cast. The acting was so fucking great, especially from Chris Pratt playing Peter Quill, aka Star Lord, because he's the least experienced actor in this entire fucking movie, especially with like big blockbuster action films like this. So I didn't really know what to expect from him going in, but I thoroughly loved his performance. Now, one thing this movie does very well is mixes all of its more serious moments, which are in here by the way, with comedy, and the comedy here is done very well. And I didn't expect it to blend in so well, which is what I'm really surprised about. But it actually did, and I ended up loving it. This movie is so fucking funny. Rocket Raccoon, I think, sells the show in terms of like pure funny. Like that raccoon is fucking hilarious. Okay, but Drax the Destroyer is really funny as well, with how mainly with how obsessed he is over his revenge. Like he at first believes that he needs to destroy Ronan in order to get his revenge, which he does. And you think his revenge is done, but then he says something that's actually very true and makes perfect sense, that Ronan was only a puppet. He really needs to destroy Thanos in order to get his revenge for his wife and daughter, because Ronan basically killed his wife and daughter, but Thanos was obviously pulling the strings, which is kind of funny because Ronan actually ended up betraying Thanos in this movie, taking the Infinity Gem or Stone or whatever that he acquired and using it for his own power, basically betraying Thanos, because Ronan was supposed to bring the stone to Thanos, but he didn't. So that was kind of cool as well. Groot, like I said before, is my favorite character, voiced by Vin Diesel. Amazing. Like, he's so fucking funny. He can only say 3 fucking words in a specific order. I am Groot. I don't know if I was explaining why, but who cares? It's fucking hilarious. And Gamora was also a really cool character too. She's basically played off as the love interest of Peter Quill, aka Star Lord. You know, it's basically that generic type of love subplot where they hate each other at first. In fact, they're mortal enemies at first, but they have to work together. Then they grow to and end up falling in love with each other. And obviously they have to work together because they're in the Guardians of the Galaxy together. And they grow and eventually end up growing to love each other. It's that type of love subplot, and it's been done before, but I thought it was done one of the best here. quite honestly, in my opinion. Alright. Whew. What else to talk about here? God, there's so much in this movie. It went for over 2 hours, and it felt longer. It really did. Um, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I loved watching it, and I'm sad that it's done, but I'm glad I'm going to see it again. Not only in the Avengers Age of Ultron, but for Phase 3, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has actually been confirmed already, okay, for 2017, I think. So, yeah, I know that's a long ways away, but I'm still going to love it, though. So they're going to be at least at least 3 more movies, I'm assuming, because I'm assuming they're going to be in the Avengers 3, you know. So they're going to be in at least 3 more movies, which is going to be fucking awesome. Alright. God, there's so much that I loved about this movie. It was just so well done. The writing was great, okay? Like, the dialogue didn't feel stiff at all. It felt natural. The character interactions were really enjoyable to listen to. I also love the soundtrack. And one thing I thought was actually kind of funny is that Peter Quill's always carrying around this mixtape, which he has from like 70s and 80s rock, because that's kind of what he's obsessed with. And when he was abducted from Earth, like I said, it was probably somewhere around in the 80s. So his kind of thought from like rock and pop is kind of frozen in the 70s and 80s. You know, he doesn't know anything about the 90s music or the 2000s music or the 2010s music, okay? He really doesn't. Now, that's pretty much all and the rest of the music in the movie was amazing as well, of course. You know. Anyways, and the effects all look so fucking amazing. We've came a long way in terms of effects for these types of movies. We really fucking have. Anyways, though. Now, there's lots of stuff to do for the second movie. I don't know much about the Guardians of the Galaxy, so I don't know what kind of story arcs they could do. But I'm assuming that in the second movie we're going to learn more about his father. Because like I said before, in this movie it was revealed at the end of it that his mother was human, his father was some sort of an alien, but they don't know what he is. So I really hope that in the second movie they go into more detail about Peter's father. Alright. Yes, Peter's father. I'm talking about Spider-Man. No, Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord's father, and whatnot. Among many other things, obviously. I'm assuming Thanos is going to be in the second movie. I hope, anyways, because I know he's not going to be in the second Avengers movie. I thought it was also kind of interesting that the Guardians of the Galaxy never actually encountered Thanos in this movie. He was in there, but he was kind of just pulling the strings from the sidelines. They never actually encountered him in there. But anyways, though, I think we're going to wrap up this review, though. Amazing movie. I absolutely loved it. There were a couple things that I didn't quite like in it, but other than that, I thought it was a great movie. I definitely recommend it. The 10th, I want to say. The 10th installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it was outstanding. And I definitely recommend this movie. Anyways, overall, I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. See you after, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.